The CBS And this is Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. Well, Congress appears headed toward passage of a compromise crime bill tonight, but it has been very slow, tough going all the way. Democrat and Republican negotiators began resolving differences in a marathon bargaining session that started yesterday afternoon, ran until 5 o'clock this morning, then resumed this afternoon. Democratic leaders hope to schedule the first votes tonight and believe that once they can get the bill to the floor, they'll be able to pass it. Our White House correspondent Rita Braver has the story.
Bob, they are expecting that there will be a vote on Capitol Hill tonight, but really the negotiations have been going on. It has been a pretty wild night here in Washington, followed by a very wild day.
Rita, what do we think is going to possibly happen here? It looks like what they started last evening. They run till 5 o'clock this morning. You wonder if they can still stay awake and be cognizant of what they're going to do here.
Well, really, it was in and out. There were certainly some sticking points. You had some members of Congress who were saying there aren't restrictions enough on how the funding for jails should be allowed. They wanted tighter controls over that. You had a push for the use of prior sexual offenses in federal rape trials, and that was another sticking point. You had arguments really over when first offenders can be released from jail. These ended up as sticking points even after there was an agreement to cut about 10% of the bill, some $3 billion, and that is certainly something that has been argued about for a week, but it does seem as if they take one step and then there is another problem to be solved. Congresswoman Pat Schroeder today said it's a little bit like nailing Jell-O to the wall.
And of course, this is only step one, we should remind everyone, because once the House does pass this, and our information is that they'll take the first votes along about 10 or 11 o'clock Eastern time, and then the final vote sometime around midnight. But once that gets done, it still has to go over to the Senate for its approval there. And what's the outlook there, do you think?
Well, you spend a little more time at the Senate than I do, but Senator Biden today was saying that the Republicans have given him a hard time on this bill for 6 years, and he expects that they'll keep giving him a hard time. But, you know, there is a sense that if the right lineup appears on the House, and it's not just Democrats who pass the bill on the House side, but also there is really a bipartisan coalition that passes it in the House, that there will be a much better opportunity to get this passed easily in the Senate. And of course, as you know, Bob, this is a real big deal to the President of the United States.
All right. Thank you very much, Rita. There is apparently no let-up in the flood of immigrants trying to get out of Cuba. Just one day after President Clinton closed the door to any more Cubans, the Coast Guard intercepted another 400 in the waters off southern Florida today. The administration believes that Fidel Castro is encouraging the exodus to divert attention from Cuba's dire economic conditions. So today, the president ordered new steps aimed at further isolating the Cuban dictator. Diana Gonzalez has our report on that.
Anger was expressed on the streets of Miami and Key West today as Cuban Americans were stunned by Washington's whirlwind of changes in immigration policy. It's all in response to this, a mass exodus of refugees from Cuba. President Clinton says it's being provoked by Cuban President Fidel Castro. Yesterday, the president announced that Cuban refugees will no longer be given automatic asylum in the United States. And today, the administration went further. First, cash remittances from the U.S. to Cuba will no longer be allowed. Cuban Americans will only be able to send food and medicine to relatives on the island. A limit has been placed on charters to Havana. Only flights bringing legal immigrants from Cuba will be allowed. And there will be an increase in broadcasts to Cuba.
The solution to Cuba's many problems is not an uncontrolled exodus. It is freedom and democracy for Cuba.
Today, the president received an important endorsement from the influential Cuban-American lobby.
We're extremely satisfied. I think that the president has done the right thing. He has addressed the issue with vigor and also with a tremendous compassion.
In sharp contrast, the director of the Refugee Transit Center in Key West is calling this a human tragedy.
This lady, I picked him up in the hospital just now. She asked me what is her son. Where is the husband? Where is the family? I don't have the answer.
The transit center used to be a clearinghouse for information about recent arrivals. But now workers here are as much in the dark as these people standing outside the gates of a Florida detention center, where already more than 300 Cuban refugees are being held. This center will house only those refugees who actually make it to U.S. shores, like this group of 5 adults and 3 children. The Coast Guard suspects they were smuggled in.
Cubans on board a U.S. registered vessel. That makes me suspicious.
The refugees were turned over to the U.S. Border Patrol for questioning. So far, the policy changes have not deterred those intent on leaving Cuba while they can, mostly aboard homemade rafts and makeshift boats, powered by sheer determination and cheered on by crowds lining Havana's famous Malecón. Cuban refugees intercepted at sea by the Coast Guard are being taken to the U.S. naval base in Guantanamo, Cuba. 500 are already on the way, and they should be arriving there tomorrow. Bob?
Thank you very much. Joining us now from our bureau in Miami is Florida's Democratic Senator Bob Graham. Senator Graham, you were somewhat critical yesterday when the president announced that he was shutting the door to refugees. You said that was a bit vague and more needed to be done. Today he took these extra steps. Is that what you had in mind yesterday?
Bob, it is. My concern is that we need to keep our focus on what the problem is. The problem is Fidel Castro and what he has done for 35 years to the people of Cuba. He has, on many occasions, attempted to shift his problems to the United States by encouraging or allowing mass exodus of his people. I believe that the actions taken today are a good beginning towards making him feel the pain for what he has done and not make it exclusively on those who are fleeing for freedom.
Of course, there is also going to be some pain for some of those in Cuba, because one of the things he has done is by stopping relatives for sending money, and there, in that just piece by Diana Gonzalez, there are people there who need that money. How do you work around that?
That is true, Bob, but it is also estimated that in the range of $500 million to as much as $1 billion a year in hard cash has been getting into Cuba through remittances to families. That's an important part of Castro's ability to have hard currency to meet his needs. I think that the Cubans, both in Cuba and their families in the United States, will appreciate the consequences of cutting off that flow of revenue and the potential that that will have to contribute to Castro's early fall.
Senator, quickly, I think a lot of people that are not in Florida don't understand the enormity of this problem that it creates for your state. Give us a little rundown on what's happened here and what the impact is.
Well, going back to 1980, the estimate is that the state of Florida has had well over $500 million of expenses in schools, hospitals, social services, all the range of needs of a population such as this. There were 125,000 people came in during the Mariel experience. The estimate was that if the numbers continued at the same rate that they have been for the last 10 days, that we could have over 80,000 in 1994.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Senator, and good luck on this problem. Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a showdown meeting to decide the fate of the NAACP chief, Benjamin Chavis, and remembering Nobel laureate Linus Pauling, who died last night at the age of 93.
How can something non-alcoholic taste this good, huh?
Funny you should ask, Jim. Old Milwaukee starts with fully fermented beer and uses this centrotherm with its unique rotating evaporator system to carefully remove the alcohol.
So, full-bodied beer flavor is never compromised?
Exactly, that's the beauty of the centrotherm.
For a non-alcoholic brew that tastes like beer, it doesn't get any better than this.
Who said that?
The winds of change are blowing away old ideas and bringing the all-new Ford Windstar. A totally new minivan. Windstar's innovative design moved the wheels out, stretching the wheelbase, creating the most passenger and cargo room of all leading minivans. And with a quieter interior, Windstar takes the minivan in a whole new direction. The all-new front-wheel drive Ford Windstar. The future of minivans begins today.
Some days it would help if there were more than one of you. It could also help if you're cooking on a Whirlpool range. This Whirlpool has easy-to-use controls that program simply, and a self-cleaning oven, in case you're needed someplace else. And because you can't always watch the sauce pot, the Whirlpool Clean-Top system lets you wipe up spills fast. Sure, one of you can do it, because together, you and Whirlpool know how to make a home run.
A closed-door meeting of the board of the NAACP is continuing on into the night. Members are debating the fate of Executive Director Benjamin Chavis, who is fighting to keep his job. Randall Pinkston has the latest from Baltimore. Randall?
Bob, they've been in the meeting all day at NAACP headquarters. The board members are still there now, although some of them have flights to catch and they're headed for home. They've been talking about lawsuits, allegations of sexual harassment, sexual discrimination. Executive Director Benjamin Chavis fighting to keep his job. We don't know if they've voted. It will take a 2/3 vote to kick him out. For now, Chavis' supporters are raising their voices that he should stay.
No membership! No membership! No Chavis! No Chavis! No membership! No membership! No Chavis!
Instead of leading protests, leaders of the NAACP, the nation's oldest civil rights organization, were themselves the focus of a demonstration to save the job of Executive Director Ben Chavis, shown here late this afternoon surrounded by supporters.
This is a grassroots movement that Ben Chavis has started.
It's time for us to support our people who are doing a new job, changing the direction of NAACP.
But it's how Chavis is doing the job that prompted this board meeting to review his decision to give former employee Mary Stansel a $300,000 settlement to avoid a sex discrimination lawsuit.
I violated no rules. I violated no policies. I violated no procedures.
Chavis has faced trials before. As a student protest leader in North Carolina, Chavis and 9 other activists, known as the Wilmington 10, were falsely convicted for firebombing a horse stable. He served 4 years.
If, in fact, there are political prisoners anywhere in the United States, then the Wilmington 10, we are real-life examples.
Chavis now claims he's under attack because of his effort to move the NAACP in a new direction.
This is your haven. This is your home away from home. This is the place. How many people here believe that? Do you believe that? No.
Closer to grassroots groups like this anti-drug project in Chicago that Chavis visited last month. But it's Chavis's outreach to other non-traditional groups like Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan which has outraged critics.
It's a 3-strikes you're out situation. The first strike was Farrakhan, the second strike was Farrakhan, and the third strike was the hush money paid to Mary Stansel.
The money Chavis spent on the lawsuits, on trying to avoid lawsuits, is especially galling to NAACP supporters who point out that the organization has a $3 million deficit. Chavis has not shown the ability to raise a lot of money, and whatever happens to him, the NAACP still has to dig itself out of a financial hole. Bob?
Thank you very much, Randall. A report in today's New York Times says that former independent counsel Robert Fisk was broadening his Whitewater probe in the weeks before he was replaced. The report says that Fisk was starting to examine the way then Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton financed his 1990 re-election campaign. Prosecutors in the O.J. Simpson case are double-checking the testimony of Simpson's house guest, Kato Kalin. Sources tell CBS News that Kalin may have told his girlfriend more about the night of the double murders than he's revealed on the witness stand. And in another development, Simpson's defense lawyers have now asked the judge to determine if alleged mishandling of blood samples could compromise the admissibility of DNA test results.
Have you tried multigrain Cheerios?
Multigrain? I wouldn't like it. I'll tell you why. First, it's healthy. It can't be good. This is good. Second, probably tastes like cardboard.
Crispy. Nice and light. Crunchy.
Third, it's too bulky.
3, 4.
4 different kinds of oats, toasted with a touch of
Brown sugar. Those are delicious.
Too much of that whole grain, new age sort of stuff. Know what I mean?
Once you try it, you can't deny it.
I like it. I'll tell you why. First,
you run a great place to visit, so lots of people call, but the people taking orders can't keep up at all. When customers hear, "Please hold," what you're selling goes unsold.
Sprint Business had a real solution for Taos Valley Resorts. Enhanced 800 service reroutes calls instantly, so every customer hears
Taos Valley Resorts.
Sprint helped us increase reservations, so we're seeing more profits. And that's why I'm in business in the first place.
Call Sprint Business. We help business do more business.
Pam Lefevre, top breeder of champion English setters, talks about new pedigree mealtime with Harvest Select rice and vegetables.
When you look at the dog food and you see the meaty kibbles, the fact that there's meat in that dog food makes me happy. But now in this new mealtime, there's rice and peas and carrots too. It's a really balanced dog food. My dogs love this combination. When it comes to nutrition, nothing beats pedigree.
Pedigree is giving away 50 Chevy Blazers. See specially marked cans and bags for details. Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
I'm Charles Osgood. Meet a musician who makes people listen to an instrument they have ignored. How does he do it? With genius and a sense of humor. We'll show you this Sunday morning.
There was fighting today in northwestern Bosnia between government forces and a rebel Muslim commander who backs the Serbs. A UN spokesman says one shell hit a group of school children, killing 5 of them. He says the shell was fired from a Serb-held part of Croatia. The latest mass exodus of refugees from Rwanda ground to a halt today as Zaire sealed off its border. But even that could not stop everyone who wanted to escape. Barry Peterson has that story.
To the desperate who believe they are fleeing for their lives, this was the sight that ended their hopes. As Zaire closed the Ruzizi Bridge, French soldiers enforced the order despite the pleas of those trapped inside Rwanda. Some people, dashing back into Rwanda for food or firewood, were stranded, separated from their families when the bridge shut down. This prompted the exodus, the French departure from Rwanda, to be finished by Monday, despite pleas by the world community for them to stay. UN officials are scrambling to get food into Bukavu for the refugees already inside Zaire, many living on the streets. The lucky have makeshift huts with no water or decent sanitation.
Sanitary conditions are just appalling, and if we can't get these people out of town quickly enough, the situation in Bukavu is going to be disastrous.
Some refugees are being moved away from town, further into Zaire, into refugee camps, hastily readied, and may be home to these people for months or years. For all the troubles in Zaire, the refugees still feel it is the safer place to be, away from the danger of reprisals for the massacres early in the Civil War. So even with the bridge closed, boats carried human cargo until soldiers lined the shores and turned them back. One man was determined, struggling even under the barrel of a gun, while back in Rwanda, the crowd shouted advice and warning. He made it to shore. Fellow refugees helped him scramble to safety, but left behind the thousands who now believe their last hope of escape is gone. Barry Peterson, CBS News, London.
There was violence today in the occupied West Bank in the towns of Hebron and Ramallah. Witnesses in Ramallah say that Israeli soldiers disguised as Arabs opened fire in a crowd of Palestinian protesters, reportedly killing 1, wounding 8 others. The deal to ease the nuclear standoff with North Korea may be in trouble tonight. The North today rejected demands by the United States and South Korea for inspection of all of its nuclear sites. It was a condition for providing new reactors that produce less plutonium, which can be used to make weapons. On the eve of crucial elections in Mexico, some experts are now predicting a turnout of up to 70%. There's a lot riding on the results, and Terrence Smith is in Mexico City with a report.
The huge rallies are over, and tens of millions of Mexicans are preparing to vote tomorrow in a presidential election that's being watched almost as closely in the United States as it is here. A year ago, in the midst of the debate over the North American Free Trade Agreement, Ross Perot warned of the giant sucking sound he said would be created by U.S. jobs heading south. Today, the only sucking sound is from the voracious Mexican appetite for U.S. goods. Welcome to the biggest Walmart in the world, here in Mexico City. On a good weekend, this store sells almost $1 million worth of merchandise, most imported from the U.S. Pampers trucked in from Tennessee, furniture from Ohio, apples from Washington State, fresh milk, 20,000 gallons weekly for this store alone.
We could become their second largest trading partner in the world this year. Trade between the United States and Mexico has grown by more than 20% in the first 6 months of this year.
Mexico is transforming itself from a closed economy to an open one.
Last year, before NAFTA, a total of 1,700 automobiles manufactured in the United States came to Mexico. In the first 5 to 6 months of this year with NAFTA, over 30,000 U.S.-made automobiles have come to Mexico.
Mexican exports to the U.S. are up too, but some sectors here are hurting. Under NAFTA, less efficient Mexican farmers have seen their prices and incomes decline.
The cost for Mexico is really exorbitant. It's enormous. We have millions of people being laid off, factories closing, agriculture not being able to compete.
Despite the growing pains, none of the candidates in tomorrow's election has proposed scrapping NAFTA. For Mexico, as for the United States, it's here to stay. Terrence Smith, CBS News, Mexico City.
Excuse me, have you discovered covered raisins? They're not like plain raisins. They're soft, plump, and sweet.
I love them.
That's what I said. Covered raisins, only in Raisin Nut Brand.
This is a square inch. This is a wheat thin. A wheat thin is the most real food deliciousness you can get in a square inch. The most genuine toastiness, the most baked-in crunchiness, the most deep-down munchiness, the most nuttiness, the most dippiness, the most flippiness, the most snackiness, the most lip-smackiness you can get in a square inch. Wheat Thins, the most taste you can get in a square inch.
Nabisco.
The beaches here are great. But the sandcastles are fantastic. Call today, 1-800-44-MEXICO.
If you've had excess gas when taking these, try Citracel. All other powdered fibers contain psyllium, which may initially cause gas and bloating. But Citracel's fiber is as effective without producing gas. Citracel, effective relief without the gas.
Can the Democrats and Republicans agree on health care legislation? And what about the crime bill? Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan faces the nation Sunday.
Late word from Washington. Vice President Al Gore tore an Achilles tendon today and is undergoing surgery tonight at Bethesda Naval Hospital. He suffered the injury this morning playing basketball with some friends. In the Virginia countryside outside Washington, D.C., the Walt Disney Company is fighting to build a $650 million theme park. But it's become a battle over money, history, and the environment. Linda Tyra has a report tonight.
In this monumental city, visitors can learn what made this country what it is today. Several years from now, visitors may head down the road for this view of the nation's past, Disney's view at a 100-acre American history theme park. Historian Roger Wilkins bristles at how such a tourist attraction can tackle the hard realities of a war over slavery.
What people want when they go to parks is to feel good. American history is tough stuff. It does not make people feel good.
Disney counters it will not ignore the nation's struggles, but neither will it shy away from its triumphs.
We will not apologize for the American story being essentially a very positive, a very optimistic, a very uplifting experience.
Disney's plan to develop this site may not rise or fall in the name of Manassas or Thomas Jefferson. Instead, its fate could turn on such local zoning issues as housing, traffic, or congestion.
Mr. Jefferson has stood watch over the Potomac for many years, and if somebody puts him out here in plastic, I mean, who's going to want to see him there when they can see the real thing?
While its critics say American history should not be a business, Disney argues just the opposite, that it is everyone's business, including Disney's. Linda Tyra, CBS News, Washington.
Well, it was neck and neck at the finish line tonight in the 125th Travers Stakes. The venerable race in Saratoga was billed as a contest between the powerful Holy Bull and Tabasco Cat, winner of the Preakness and Belmont Stakes. But at the finish line, it was Holy Bull by a neck over Concern. Tabasco Cat was a distant third.
Far back.
My friend Reba says, Cheryl, you gotta try Crispix. It doesn't end up tasting soggy and yucky. Yeah, like she knows. Oh, sure. It tastes terrific now, but once that milk soaks in, well, it'll never make it to the end.
Kellogg's Crispix cereal stays tasty to the end.
Okay, last bite. So what's it going to taste like, porridge or mush? How do you like that? It still tastes fabulous. You know, Reba only had taste of men like she has in her cereal.
Is the gray in your mustache or beard making you look too old? Now there's Just for Men Brush-In Color Gel, specially for the hard-to-color hair of mustaches and beards. This brush-in gel stays put to penetrate hard-to-color hair. In 5 minutes, rinse. Your mustache or beard blends with your natural hair color, and it won't fade or wash out.
Now that's a lot better.
Just for Men Color Gel, from the leader in men's hair coloring.
You like food. You get heartburn. You take Maalox. Life is good.
And don't forget great tasting Maalox tablets, too.
Linus Pauling died last night at his California ranch. He was 93. He was a scientist and the only person ever to win 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. Troy Roberts takes a look back at this long career.
He is considered to be among the most influential scientists of this century, ranked alongside the likes of Newton and Einstein. Dr. Linus Pauling's pioneering work in chemistry changed the way we looked at the structure of molecules. But he's probably best known for his theories on fighting an ailment that has befuddled medical science for decades.
The proper intake of vitamin C helps keep one from catching cold.
Pauling's theory that large doses of vitamin C help ward off disease and delay the ravages of cancer earned him a loyal public following and a bestseller, but drew some skeptics in the scientific community. His earlier work, though, produced 2 unshared Nobel Prizes, one in chemistry and another in peace. After the dropping of the atomic bombs on Japan, Pauling turned peacenik long before it became popular.
The tests themselves of nuclear weapons do harm to the health of the human beings who are now living and do harm to the human race.
His public campaign against nuclear weapons testing raised the suspicions of Senator Joe McCarthy, but Pauling remained outspoken.
He had the characteristics of a scientific Renaissance man, covering a variety of different scientific topics as well as humanitarian topics.
America, meanwhile, continues to swallow up his megavitamin therapy ideas. He never thought much of his contributions to science. Dr. Pauling said he was no smarter than anyone else, just that he was more persistent in trying to make some sense out of what is often a confusing world. In New York, Troy Roberts, CBS News.
And that's the news. Tomorrow on Sunday morning, the tall-masted schooners sail again off the coast of Maine. I'm Bob Schieffer. Good night.
Experience CBS News.
This is CBS.